Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you are catching this YouTube video. And thank you for popping by. I really appreciate it. If you could take a moment to subscribe to my channel, that would be fantastic. And leave a comment. I am today creating a card. I've done a series of designer series paper cards. Throughout July we have designer series paper on offer at 15% off. So if you have any questions about that, please do ask. Tailored Tag is one of our punches at £17. That's a Stampin' Up punch, and you can create beautiful cards quite simply. So what I've done is taken the In Good Taste papers and I've cut with the Tailored Tag punch a series of the papers. Some you might want to swap them over. I generally suggest using glue, wet glue, this multi-purpose Tombow type glue. Potentially when you're creating these cards, it does help to have a little bit of wriggle room when you actually place the Tailored Tag down. So I've cut my AliExpresso cardstock card base, and then I've cut a very vanilla layer to place over the top, and I'm going to glue my Tailored Tag. So you can see I've got that little bit of wriggle room that just means I can line up the edge of that Tailored Tag punch there, just make sure the point is right at the top of the card, and then once that's in position we can leave it. What's important to remember is it doesn't always cover the whole card, so don't always put glue over the whole thing if you're not going to need it. So I tend to leave a small gap, and again just making sure that that's straight on, so taking a little bit of care. On this one I'm going to put the glue on the card because it's just that top edge piece. It's actually quite difficult to calculate where the glue is going to go. So essentially that is going to fill that little gap with a similar sized gap. As you can just see, that wet glue is giving me a little bit of wriggle room. Easier to do it when it's flat down. Get it settled and then hold that in place. I'm going to come back and do the smaller pieces. So these generally are wood grains, and then I've got a few that are kind of like a brick finish, so it creates quite an interesting texture on the card. Now what you can do is you could, let's just clean up that bit of excess glue. So I'm literally just going to take a tissue to remove that. So you can either decide that you're going to put a sentiment over the top, or you could incorporate the sentiment by leaving a kind of Tailored Tag shape space, or by putting a sentiment on to a piece of cardstock. For example, if I took a piece of, which of course I can't find right now, no, that's not very vanilla, got a bag of scraps and there's never the right colour, there we go. So I've lost my Tailored Tag punch. But if I wanted to consider the sentiment that I wanted to use, essentially I can offer it up to see if it fits. So a lot of these actually won't. I don't even think that happy will fit No. So for this card, I'm not going to do it that way. But you could put a sentiment onto the punch and then place it in the area for one of the punches. I'm actually going to cut out a sentiment, I think, for this card. Oh, glue, 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 glue. So if we do get glue, we just need to be mindful of where that glue is. Otherwise, we're going to keep sticking our card to it. So these grid papers are excellent. If you ever wanted to have a part pack, you could drop me a message. The full packs are fairly big, so unless you do a lot of crafting, they'll keep you going for your whole lifetime. Not that that's a bad thing, because a lifetime of crafting is what we all want. It's certainly something I've loved for many years, and of course I forgot then that that was not going to cover the whole of the card. So that's the prime example of why, when you're doing those edges, put the glue on the card. So you can see this little bit here, I obviously do want to put it on the card because I'm never going to manage to get the glue right for that. But it really is just creating. You see what will happen with some of these pieces, I will be able to fill in gaps with the excess bits. So try not to create too uniform a pattern in the papers, try and mix them up a bit. Just create some real kind of interest in a card. I'm going to put a little tiny bit of glue in that area. Just pop the edge of that way, I think. So some of these I did on a slight angle, but you can do this with any designer series paper, any floral. We don't want that there because of that one, so we'll use this one. Florals. So the great thing with the Stampin' Up! Designer series paper packs is they are coordinated. So you have two sides of paper, and generally you've got a coordination within the colours. So you really can kind of pick colours and create a coordinated look. Just try and keep those spaces as even as you can. I'll put that one that way around, remembering in this instance to kind of just glue 3/4 of it. We don't want to be sticking to our. So once that you're at that stage, once they're in place, when you turn it over, you can just use your snips to just trim that edge. And then in essence what you have is some extra bits to decorate the corners. Just a bit. Oh no, we want that side. So in essence, like that piece, potentially I could glue there, but actually it's next to that bit, so that doesn't work in that instance. So I'm going to need a completely different bit. I think we'll use that lighter one. But again, don't throw away the bits you cut off, because you can use those to make a series of cards. The other thing this is fantastic for is Christmas. Sorry to mention that already. But the catalogue does come out on the 3rd of August. Got to be prepared. So again, I am going to stick a little tiny bit in that corner, but I'm going to put a little bit of glue in there. So any sort of Christmas paper, the coordinates is just fantastic. Just leave that to glue. So again, just try and keep the edges of the pieces the right way around, if you see what I mean. So rather than cut, you know, that one potentially would fit, but I'm going to put it on at the same angle, even though I'm going to cut it off, just really so that it fits. That's why we needed a little bit of wriggle room, because that one needed to come up a little bit more. So I'm going to cut a few more of these bits off. Do let them dry a little bit before you cut, just to make your life a little bit easier. That needs to dry, because that's going to wiggle, but as that's drying I can complete these corners. So I think we could probably put that one there. So when you get to the smaller bits, do put the glue on the card. Again, making sure you've got that similar gap. And then we have got a teeny weeny little corner here. So I might see if we can find a bit. That one's the same pattern, that's a different pattern. So you don't want to create something that's overly uniform, otherwise you can see the repetition. Hopefully it should kind of look a bit random. Oops. Glue on my finger. See, that's really sticking to the smallest little corner there, but it'll get there. So hopefully these are dry enough just to cut those pieces off. As I said, I tend to then have a bag of bits, but then what that's going to sit on top of that card base, and we'll use the same early espresso. A bit too much of a gap there. So I'll just put that bit of cream away, didn't I? God, lovely. A tidy crafter that tidies away the things that she actually needs. So I'm going to use the same happy birthday that I used before, but I've currently, there we go, always losing things. So I'm going to put it right in the bottom corner of that piece of card. That's just inked. And I'm going to just follow the line of that Y, cut straight across the top of the happy, trim a little bit off the bottom of that, and the side, and I think these would be rather nice up on dimensionals. So there's the happy, we'll do the birthday. Fantastic way to make a man's card, which I often struggle with male birthdays. I'm not a massive fan of fussy cutting, but I love these sentiments when they're fussy cut. So for me, it's worth it. But they are quite, they're not, you don't have to be overly detailed, and obviously I'm not cutting inside the loopy bits, and I don't necessarily go overly high into the H there either. You could do it differently if you wanted to, but the easiest way is just keep your snips in one place and move your paper. So I say I'm doing a few cards with various designer series papers just because it's a really easy way of creating cards and showcasing our gorgeous designer series papers, and that it's important to love it and shop it. No good to man nor beast, stored in your craft room for you to look at and nobody else to enjoy. So take advantage of the 15% off we have during July and get chopping it and creating. In the designer series paper, there is a Christmas one in the sale as well, a 6x6. But the In Good Taste 24 sheets for £17 is very good value. So there we go. Tidy the scraps away. So these bits will hopefully be dry, so I can cut my little, they look like ears on my card, don't they, at the moment? As I say, keep those extra bits because they're fantastic for infilling if you make another card. But apart from that bit, that's probably a little bit too small even for me to keep, and actually that's a bit gluey, so just watch how gluey they are. So I'm thinking happy birthday, just at a jaunty, I mean you could do it straight, you could do it at an angle to suit you. And the other embellishments that I really do like for mail cards is we have these silver and clear, and so there's we've got a couple of random ones there. So you've got the silver effect, but you've got the clear ones, so you can put embellishment on there, but it's not overly sort of in your face. So, you know, if it was a man that you didn't think would appreciate any level of sparkle, just add something quite simple. So I've put our larger dimensionals on the back of that. I'm going to position that there, I think, which I might glue it to the card base before I put the other letter on. I tend to find it hard to tape once you, so splodge a bit of glue around, and again that gives us that little bit of wriggle room. So that just sits on like that. Oh, didn't. You can just see that's a little bit wonky in that corner. Just straighten that up a bit. And then our mini dimensionals are perfect for the back of the birthday. Oh no, half ones. So I generally just cut up so that you get the little halves, and then I'm going to put one there and one on there. Get the backs off those. They are slightly fiddlier to get the back off when you've cut them in half, but it is possible. Nails or a pick tool. Where did gloves come from? Who knows? So I'm going to place that like that, I think, across the card. So just putting it onto the Very Vanilla just does help lift the sentiment off the card, and adding them onto dimensionals. And then, as I say, these are really just clear, so you can see them, but they're not too sort of in your face if it was someone that you felt perhaps would not appreciate a lot. Ooh, left that one behind. A lot of bling on their card. Put them quite close to the sentiments there, so hopefully you can just see them slightly there. So hopefully you've enjoyed that card. Do let me know if it inspires you to make a card in the comments, and please do subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.